For generations, two criminal empires have dominated the imagination of the public. The Italian mob, the Russian Mafia. One was born in the villages of Sicily. The other emerged from the shadows of the Soviet underworld. Both built fortunes. Both inspired fear. Both became global symbols of organized crime. But now we arrive at the final chapters of our investigation. How far did these organizations spread? How much of what we believe is myth? And which organization was actually more brutal? Before we dive into the main story, please kindly follow our page, like, comment and share. Also subscribe to our channel for more interesting video like this. The answer may be more complicated than anyone expected. The earliest mafia groups controlled neighborhoods, villages, cities. Their influence was local. Their power depended on territory. But the modern world changed everything. International travel expanded. Global trade increased. Money moved across borders faster than ever before. And organized crime adapted. Criminal organizations learned a simple lesson. If business becomes global, crime becomes global. The American Mafia Empire. During the 20th century, the Italian-American Mafia became one of the most influential organized crime networks in the world. Major cities became centers of activity. Networks emerged across regions. Families formed alliances. Profits expanded. For decades, the organization became deeply embedded in certain criminal markets and legitimate industries. Its influence reached far beyond the streets where it began. This expansion helped create the Mafia's legendary reputation. Yet it also attracted attention from increasingly sophisticated law enforcement efforts. The Russian criminal expansion occurred under very different circumstances. The collapse of the Soviet Union created economic and political instability. New opportunities emerged. Borders became more open. Financial systems changed rapidly. Criminal groups adapted quickly. By the late 20th century, Russian organized crime had developed an international presence. Investigators increasingly viewed organized crime as a transnational challenge. The world had become interconnected. And so had criminal networks. The most powerful criminal organizations no longer relied solely on territorial control. Influence became more important than geography. Information became more valuable than intimidation. Money became more important than public displays of power. The modern criminal landscape evolved. And organizations that failed to adapt struggled to survive. Many people imagine organized crime as secret meetings in dark rooms. The reality is often far less dramatic. Modern organized crime frequently depends on financial influence, international connections, and sophisticated business structures. The most successful organizations often become less visible, not more. But popularity created another problem. Movies, television, journalism. The public image of organized crime began diverging from reality. And that created one of the greatest mysteries in this story. How much of what we believe is actually true? For decades, popular culture transformed organized crime into entertainment. The Mafia became associated with loyalty, family, and tradition. Russian organized crime became associated with ruthlessness and unpredictability. These portrayals influenced public perception around the world. But history is rarely that simple. Neither organization fits neatly into stereotypes. And neither organization can be understood solely through films or headlines. To determine which organization was more brutal, we must first define brutality. Is it measured by violence? The number of victims? The level of fear created? The willingness to target rivals? The willingness to corrupt institutions? Different definitions lead to different conclusions. This is why historians continue debating the issue. Critics point to decades of intimidation, violence, internal wars, extortion, and attacks on public institutions. Entire communities lived under the influence of organized crime. Witnesses feared speaking. Businesses faced pressure. Public trust suffered. The Mafia's power often depended on creating an atmosphere where resistance seemed impossible. Others point to the chaotic years following the Soviet collapse. Periods of instability created intense competition. Criminal groups fought for influence. Economic uncertainty created opportunities for exploitation. The rapid pace of change produced an environment in which criminal networks expanded quickly. For many observers, this period became synonymous with lawlessness and fear. After examining decades of history, a surprising conclusion emerges. The two organizations were often more different than similar. The Mafia traditionally emphasized hierarchy and long-term control. Many Russian criminal groups emphasized adaptability and flexibility. One sought stability. The other often thrived amid instability. Both approaches produced influence. Both approaches caused harm. But comparing them directly is far more difficult than popular culture suggests. The question, which was more brutal, may not have a universally accepted answer. Some researchers focus on violence. Others focus on corruption. Others focus on social impact. The result depends on the criteria used. And that remains one of the central controversies of organized crime history. The world that created these organizations has changed. Technology transformed communication. Financial systems evolved. Governments improved investigative techniques. International cooperation increased. Traditional criminal structures faced new challenges. The environment that once allowed organized crime to flourish became increasingly difficult to navigate. Modern criminal activity often looks very different from the past. Influence can move through networks rather than neighborhoods. Power can be exercised without physical presence. Visibility has become a liability. Secrecy has become more valuable than ever. The criminal landscape continues evolving, and organized crime evolves with it. Despite these changes, the legacy of both organizations remains significant. Their stories influenced law enforcement, politics, business, popular culture, and public perceptions of crime itself. Few criminal organizations have had a greater impact on modern history. Their influence extends far beyond the crimes they committed. It shaped how entire societies think about power. So which organization was more brutal? After examining their histories, the honest answer may surprise many viewers. There is no simple winner. The Italian mob demonstrated extraordinary longevity, territorial control, and influence over generations. Russian organized crime demonstrated remarkable adaptability during periods of upheaval and rapid change. Both caused significant harm. Both created fear. Both exploited weaknesses in society. And both became symbols of organized crime around the world. The real lesson may not be which organization was worse. The real lesson is how criminal organizations emerge whenever power, money, corruption, and opportunity intersect. Perhaps the greatest misconception is believing these stories belong entirely to the past. Organized crime changes. It adapts. It evolves. The names may change. The methods may change. But the underlying forces remain. And that means the story is never truly over. Imagine looking back 100 years from now. Will future historians still discuss the Mafia? Will they still study Russian organized crime? Or will entirely new criminal empires have emerged? History offers no easy answers. Only patterns. And those patterns suggest that wherever immense wealth, influence, and opportunity exist, someone will attempt to exploit them. The question is not whether organized crime changes. The question is what form it will take next. And that may be the most important mystery of all. What do you think? Which organization had the greater impact on history? Which was more brutal? And what should brutality actually mean when comparing criminal empires? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And subscribe for more hidden history, true crime documentaries, historical investigations, and untold stories from around the world. Thank you for watching. Please don't forget to kindly subscribe to my channel, follow our page, like, comment and share for more interesting historic fact videos.